Hey there, how's it going? This is Bonnie Violet. I am a trans, femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist and digital chaplain. And in case you don't know where you are, you have found yourself on the Drag and Spirituality podcast and in our special series dedicated to our time at the Drag and Spirituality Summit that took place in Chicago in October of 2022. The next few episodes will be panel discussions that we had with drag artists from across the United States, Canada, and beyond. And we just wanted to share the audio with folks who are interested in drag and spirituality. So stay tuned and listen up and bear with the sound. My hope is that we'll work on it being great, but you know how that goes sometimes. So we did our best to try to capture some sound for our first ever Drag and Spirituality Summit in the hopes of being able to upload it here on a podcast for folks who couldn't be there in person. Thank you and enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Linda Summers. How's everyone doing? Oh my gosh, so happy to be here.
And hello, everybody. My name is Imani Recoverai, and I am very, very excited to be part of this panel and talking about how we have so much fun in drag and in sobriety.
And hey, everyone. I'm Sue Trotower, beaming in from San Francisco. Very happy to be here tonight. And this is the earliest I've done drag in a long time because I'm 2 hours behind y'all.
Are you ready for brunch too?
I am, yes.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to basically share a little bit of our stories, experience, strength, and hope, give you a little bit of background on ourselves and drag, as well as our recovery, and tell little stories there. And then maybe we'll just have a conversation with each other back and forth and ask some questions, and maybe, make room for you to have some questions for us as well. So would you like to start and lead us off?
Sure. Thank you. All right. Well, my name is Linda Summers, and I have been in recovery for about 3.5 years now. And I actually started doing drag in sobriety. So it's only been almost 3.5 years. And, I think for me, I never thought that I was this flamboyant, feminine, homosexual, but it turns out that I was, it really did. I started doing drugs, and I started kind of dabbling into all of that in my early teen years, and it took about for me up to the age of 22 to realize that I had a problem and I needed to stop. And I asked for help, and I got the help, and here I am now today, safe and sober.
So, again, my name is Imani Recoverai. I am the current reigning Miss Serenity 2021. So I'm going to be stepping down out of my reign. And our pageant is a pageant for our recovery community. And I'll be stepping down in November the 12th in this very building. So I'm really excited to be in this space. When I first started in drag, I started it when I was in college. And my name at the time was Imani Dominique St. James. I was from the South, so we had to have 3 names. And at that time, I chose those 3 names because they meant something, very special to me. When I got in recovery, I knew that not only was I changing my life, that I needed to change every aspect of me. So that's the reason why I changed my name as well. And I changed it from Imani Dominique St. James to Imani Recoverai, because Imani is the 7th day of Kwanzaa, which means faith, and Recoverai, which means recovery. So my name today means faith and recovery. And that's what carries me today, because drugs took me to a dark place. And what I love about being in drag, especially within my recovery community, is that it brings so much light and so much hope to those that are wondering, can I have fun in recovery? And so I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to have done what I have done as Imani Recoverai, and what I continue to produce and what I continue to be a part of in this recovery community, to share the journey and to share the story.
Great. It's so nice to hear your all story. I wish I could be there live with you all, but I'm very happy to be joining via video this morning. I actually, I started my, I've been in the in recovery for a little over 12 years, and I also didn't really start my drag career until after I got sober. And I think a big part of that was because, you know, when you have an addiction, that tends to take over your life, and that was certainly true for me. And it wasn't until I got sober that I had the time, the effort, the energy to really sort of explore the creative side of my life. And that's something I always talked about when I was drinking, but I was never able to fully devote time to staying sober. And once I did that, it was this sort of world got unlocked for me, because here in San Francisco, a lot of the queens here are sober. And so I always knew that I was interested in drag. And so I started right away, actually, about 12 years ago, performing as backup dancing for some drag queens. And then eventually I took the leap and put on some makeup myself. I hope I look good this morning. And as soon as I did that, it was such a sort of sigh of relief. You know, when you're in an addiction, you really struggle. And you think that if you get sober, you're never going to have fun again. And I was able to sort of explore, you know, having a lot more fun, being creative, you know, dressing up, putting on a wig, dancing with my friends. And now it's such a big part of my life. It's a really important element, actually, of my recovery is being Sue. And I'm very happy for that, actually.
About not only, you know, what it's like to be in drag and the fun we have in drag, but we also get to share our stories. You know, I am coming up on November the 1st will be 6 years for me, and I am so blessed. And here's the thing for me was that, you know, it was not my first time. This is not my first time around. This is my second time in recovery, because I had long time, clean time before, and decided to go back out and give it another shot. I realized I was not having any fun. And when the fun was up, you know, it was time to come back. So, you know, a question I would love to ask you all is, you know, in your addiction, when did you realize that the fun had stopped? What was it that made you realize the fun was stopped?
For me, it was having to help people move their suitcases to a different hotel room when I had my own spot at some shelters. Like, that is the insanity that I was in. Like, why was I putting myself through all that stressful moments, right, when I had a place on my own? But here I was running around with people who didn't. And I had opportunities, but why wasn't I taking advantage of them? Or why wasn't I using them? You know, why wasn't I using? And I think that's when I realized that I really had come to a point where, like, I had no more cards to play with. And it was no more fun. Because at first it was fun, because I knew I could manipulate any situation. I knew I could lie through anything that, you know, in order for me to get something, right? But there was a point, and I knew that every time I would, like, go back home after a 4 or 5 day run, I would, like, find myself under my blankets, just, like, praying to God, like, please make this stop, because I was so tired. And I think that also was a big, like, sign that I had really come to my, you know, limits, because I started praying to God more often than not, asking him to remove this from me. Just didn't know what that meant. I just knew I wanted it to stop.
Sue, how do you respond to that?
For me, I actually stopped having fun pretty early on in my drinking career. You know, I clearly had a problem early on. So a lot of problems came, you know, even when I was, like, early in college. You know, I was hungover all the time. I would always think about going hiking or having a boyfriend, or, you know, I had all these plans in life, but I could never really get it together. And I spent 10 years that way, which is funny, like, reflecting on that now. And, you know, you really don't have to live that way. That's sort of a cheesy thing that you hear in AA meetings, but you really don't, and it's true. And for me, it was the only way to get on the other side of that was to let other people sort of love me and help me and get me to the other side, so I can have fun again.
You know, when I am choosing my music and things that I'm going to perform, you know, like I'm already been rehearsing for months now, the songs that I'm going to do for my step down. I'm very direct and conscious of what the lyrics are, because what I want more than anything else is something that you touched on, is praying to God. You know, I am so grateful that in my addiction, that the relationship that I have with God is so powerful that I know that God was present with me even in the midst of me making the wrong decisions. And today, what I understand more about step 3, you know, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand it. I know that even in those moments when I was making the decision to prepare this particular drug or to do this particular drug, that God's hand was on me, and God was saying, I'm not going to stop you from doing what you're doing, but I'm not going to take my hand off of you to see you through this. And so what I'm really grateful for today is that connection that I have. So when I choose my music, I'm very intentional on the lyrics about what it is that I want to give out to the audience, because I want my spirituality to be part of that message. Do you feel the same way or choose your music the same way?
At first I did. Now I just have fun with my drag. I mean, yeah, no, of course. I mean, I started at the Mascara Show, which is a monthly fundraiser for the Castro Country Club. I had my debut there, and every month, whatever the theme was, I just thought, how can I relate this to the step that I'm on right now, right? How can I express myself, right? How can I tell people what I am feeling? Because outside of that, I was this like quiet little shy boy who just will go to a meeting and would run out of the meeting because I had something else to do. Because I was, you know, that's what I did with my time. I put so much on my schedule just so I can avoid being very vulnerable with others. But drag kind of opened up the doors for me. So yes, I was very particular with what song choices I would choose, because it really did help me to find my voice and to let people in.
I love that. Yeah, for me, my higher power is sort of an energy that's all around us, and a big part of that energy is it always wants to bring good into your life. And so when I'm performing, I don't know if it's necessarily the song choices that I make, but it's really just through the performance. I definitely, like, I'm trying to bring that energy into the performance, and I want the audience to kind of feel walking away how I feel on stage. Because when you're done with a number, like, you have all of this endorphins going and this energy, and it's such a great experience, and just sort of creating and having fun through art. But then I also want the audience to feel that way. And so just sort of bringing that positive energy all along.
So, you know, when we do drag in our recovery community, I mean, in my opinion, just my opinion, that we have the best fans and audiences in our recovery community, because these are people who want to see us succeed. And I know one of the most powerful stories that was told to us was a person came, he was very new to recovery, and he came to the Miss Serenity pageant. That was his first exposure to drag and his first exposure to fun in recovery. And he's still in recovery to this day. And he said that changed his life. So when you are preparing for your fans and the recovery community, what's the thing that drives you to just go, oh, this is going to be so much fun? Sue?
No, I love that too, because I mean, I had a similar experience myself, being, like I said, new and sober earlier on, I really got involved in the drag community. It wasn't as a queen myself at first, but I see that now, and I see Linda and I actually are part of the sobriety show here in San Francisco called the Mascara Show, which supports the Castro Country Club. And Linda's the current reigning Miss Castro Country Club. I was the previous Miss Castro Country Club. And one of the things that I found is encouraging other folks who are also sober to do drag with us, because number one, it's a great way to get experience if you're just interested in drag. And number two, I think you get that true sort of support in its community building and having fun again with other sober folks in the program. And for me, it's always been, having fun, supporting each other, and also just getting over ourselves. Because sometimes when we first get sober, like the world is all doom and gloom. And so, for me, drag's all about having fun. And so I think flipping that for people and showing people, you don't have to always be stuck in that doom and gloom. And there is a lot to say in terms of sort of just creating a better life for yourself when you're not using alcohol and drugs. So I think it's so great that drag can do that for us.
I think that's so powerful, because a lot of times when we perform, like, even here in Chicago, we hold fundraisers and things in places where alcohol is being served, and people just wonder, are they really not using? Like, they're having so much fun up there and they're doing it drug and alcohol free. Like, that just blows people's minds out. And I think it's so powerful. So we talk a little bit about, how fun it is. What's the struggle? What sometimes is the thing that we struggle with when you're performing or getting ready for a performance, and, we have that addict mind or that addict brain that kicks in? What's the struggle that you run into sometimes?
Being my own worst critic. I think that for many years I allowed those negative those negative thoughts get into my head, and they convinced me that I was not good enough, that I was not lovable, and that I had nothing to give to this world. And to the point when a family member told me once, like, you're trash, I really took that, and I believed it. I really did. And so, I think that has been a challenge, is not letting those voices. No, actually, it's not even a challenge anymore. I think I've come to really believe, this is step 2 for me. Like, I really came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, and I feel like, for me, that's really reframing the way I think about how I do things and why I do things. And I have found that just letting go, just not taking myself so seriously, is like the best way to combat those thoughts that come to mind, like say, nope, that hair is not in the right place. You forgot your lashes, but you know what? You still show up anyway, And that is what recovery has taught me. Just show up anyway. You always have a seat. I always have a seat. No matter where I go, I always have a seat. So that's how I deal with those challenges. I mean, and those are the challenges I face, I suppose.
So what do you think?
For me, I think it was actually performing in bars, because I don't know, when I'm getting ready, going to the show, like, I'm so focused on putting my makeup on and doing everything right that I just, it's almost like a meditative state for me, because I am pretty present. But then sometimes when I get to the bar, it's like, oh, that's what's happening tonight. There's a lot of drunk people around you, because I perform in, shows outside of just recovery shows. And sometimes it can be hard if you're like, you're performing on stage and someone's really drunk, trying to like disrupt your performance or just hang all over you. Or even just when I'm in the bar, but I'm not, I'm in between the numbers and I'm not performing. You just see it all around you. And a lot of times now I'll sort of, when I see somebody who's clearly having a night, I'll say, or maybe a morning if it's a brunch show. I just try to remember that that's what I used to be like, and I sort of have compassion for those folks, and it's just a good reminder of like that's the reason I do what I do, and I put the work into staying sober because I don't want to be that person anymore in the bar who's a mess at 11 at an 11 a.m. brunch show that's just drunk for the rest of the entire day. So that's what I'd say about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, because, it's so inspiring, and I'm taking so much from you all just sitting here and having this conversation right now, because I'm like you, I also can be my hardest critic. I will literally come off stage and have, there'll be a standing ovation, but I'll go backstage and I'll be like, oh, your slip was showing, or, your shoulder pad was off, or, that hair was not in the right place. Instead of letting that moment take me and embrace me, I go immediately to that place. And I think what you also said is true for me, is that we have to get rid of those old tapes. And that's what recovery has taught me as well. My recovery has taught me to get rid of those old tapes of damaging, things that were not in our best interest and not elevating us to our highest good. That now we get to create these new tapes, these new aspirations, these new ways of being able to say to myself, you are perfectly and beautifully made, period. There's nothing that anybody can take from that. There's nothing that anybody can do about that, because, my higher power that I choose to call God, really has made me to be who I am. I didn't know at the age of 13, when I heard the voice of God say, I created you as a Black gay man because I have work for you to do. I had no idea at that time that drag was going to be a part of it. I had no idea at that time. And I'm so grateful to know that when I was 7 years old and I was trying on my mama's shoes, when she would run to the grocery store, I would crawl into bed and grab those shoes and walk around the house, that I was being prepared at that moment because I had a calling on my life. And as we sit here, the three of us today, and as those people who are sitting out in internet land and sitting here in the audience with us, we have a calling on our lives. And it's important for us to embrace that calling. And there will be tapes in our heads that will say to us, you can't be, you shouldn't be, we're not going to allow. Well, God allows. God created me. God put me here. And so I'm going to answer that call. I'm going to answer that call, and I'm going to allow that call to elevate me to my highest good. What's your favorite genre of music that you like to do when you're performing?
You can go ahead.
I'm curious what you're going to say, Linda. My favorite genre is Broadway. I'm sort of a camp queen. So I get to live my life pretending like I'm on stage on Broadway when I'm really not. And that also, I feel like music has been a big part of my recovery. And so being able to sort of, when you're performing, you have to like memorize the song and listen to the music a bunch. And it's another way to sort of connect with my higher power as well, just through the music. What do you think, Linda?
I think you're a great campy queen. You always come with the choreography.
I do, yes. You're a great backup dancer.
Yeah, I'm her backup dancer for next week. She's competing in a pageant. But yeah, no, for me, I don't really think that I have a particular genre, but I have some artists that I love to do, like Gloria Trevi, Monica Naranjo, Alejandra Guzman. They're all female singers, Spanish singers. And I think that for me, like, it's important that I do Spanish songs, because for so many years, I thought that it was wrong to be Hispanic. I thought it was wrong to be queer. And so those females, like their songs are so self-empowering. And like, I feel like I have to do those songs, and I think if I don't really think I have a genre. I just go for whatever artists I feel are embodiments of love and strength and determination. And I feel like, yeah. What about you, my love?
I grew up in the Pentecostal church. So, people will call me the gospel queen because I'll pull out a gospel in a heartbeat. Give me some Yolanda Adams, some CeCe Winans, Whitney Houston. Those are the ones that I have a tendency to go to. But what I'm finding lately in my drag, when I do perform, is that I'm finding the words that have the message. That's what hits me. Like, I'll hear a song somewhere and it won't be anything with gospel, but it'll have this message and those lyrics. And I'm like, oh, that's good. So in my playlist, I have different playlists in my iPhone. And one of my playlists is Fun Drag. So that's where all of my drag numbers go into that list. And so, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger because I'm finding myself expanding. And as I'm expanding in my recovery, I'm finding myself expanding in my drag performances as well. Yeah. If you had a person who was new to recovery and they were interested in stepping into the world of drag, what would be your advice that you would give to them?
Call Suture Tower. No, I'm kidding. My advice to a lot of them, as Miss Castro Country Club, I have had the honor to sort of help a lot of people do drag for the first time in the last 3 to 4 months. And it's been really wonderful to see them do drag for the first time, right? They do it for the pictures, right? And for the, one moment, whatever. But, hours or days before the show, they do reach out to me and they're like, I'm so nervous. What do I do? And I just say, let it go, trust the process, let us love you. It's going to be such an amazing time, and I feel like that's what I needed to hear when I first started doing drag, not to take myself so seriously. And I think anyone who does drag for the first time, it is a nerve-wracking experience because you want to be accepted. We all seek acceptance in one way or another. And I just, for anyone who's thinking about doing drag, I just say go for it and have fun. And again, let us love you. Until you can start to see what we see, and yeah, what about you, Sue?
Yeah, I would say, first I would say, Linda and I hosted the same show. I did it last year. She's doing it this year. Last year, I think the entire year, maybe I had two brand new queens the whole time. But I'm very appreciative of my friend Linda and very proud of her because I feel like at every show, there's like 2 or 3 performers at every show who are new. And it's just so fun to see them living their life and just having fun. But the advice that I would give would really be do it when the time is right. Somebody was supposed to do it last year during my run as Miss Castro Country Club, and it was the night of the show, and they had to back out because they were still struggling with their addiction. And I just told them, get sober first. That should always be the first step. And once you get a little bit of time, then you can sort of experiment and do some more fun things. But it's nerve-wracking especially if you've never performed. To get on stage, wear a wig, wear heels. So it's not for everyone who's brand new. Some people maybe who've done drag before could do that who are brand new. But I always say, focus on yourself. Just like RuPaul says, you got to learn to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And that's so, so true. And so I always tell people, the first time actually I was supposed to do it, I backed out too, because I just wasn't ready. So do it when the time is right. You don't want drag to take out either, but it can add a lot. But you sort of have to be at the right in the right mind space.
That's awesome. Thank y'all so much. I think what I do is I make the space. I create the space for those that want to do it. In fact, we have a wonderful one of my final fundraisers I'm doing a selfless plug here. One of my final fundraisers as Miss Serenity 2021 is we're doing Spectacular Soberween. And the entertainment for the evening is going to be people performing in drag for the first time. And my husband is one of them, and I'm really excited because he's also in the program. And the wonderful thing, and I say the husband because we just got married August 19th, so we're newlyweds. But I wanted to create a space because I know how much fun I have when you get into face and it's baking. That's a terminology in drag. Look it up. When it's baking, it's almost as if Imani takes over my body. Keith steps aside and Imani comes in and says, I'm here now. So I know how much fun it is to get into makeup, to get into hair, and then to step into that outfit, and then to be ready to go out and perform. And so I just wanted to create a space for other people to have some fun. And what better time to do it than Halloween? Everybody's in a costume already. So let's just make it a creative space. I love creating opportunities for people. And I also love what you just said, Linda, about the fact that you use the program just now. Let us love you. Let go. Enjoy it. That's what we tell each other every single day in the rooms of recovery is we talk about letting go. Let us love you till you can love yourself. Trust the process. Those are words of wisdom that truly have, helped me in my recovery for sure. How are we doing on time? Are we doing good on time? Okay, good, because we can talk forever. We have reigning queens here, so we can talk forever. When you are preparing for an event, what do you lean on the most, especially in recovery when you're preparing for an event? What do you lean on? Do you lean on your sponsor? Do you lean on your friends in recovery? Who or what do you lean on the most?
I can't lean on my sponsor when I sponsor myself. I'm kidding. No, kidding. Sometimes slowly. No. I lean on God. I really do. I was telling someone that I'm staying with, or I forget who, but I was telling them how when I'm getting ready for a show in general, for any event, I do find myself getting overwhelmed, and I quickly think about what is the fastest way to get relief, and my mind goes to, well, what is a quick, what's quick, and but I stop myself, right, and I say, okay, well, what's the second best thing that you can do, right, and I get into prayer, I invite God into whatever I'm doing, especially when I'm getting ready. Because when I'm getting ready, like the time is just going, it's going. Sometimes it feels like it's going so slow, and I'm just sitting there, like getting ready, nervous, but by the time that I have invited God, I feel like those nerves go away. So I lean on God many times for mostly everything, I think. And of course, people, but people disappoint you, so you can always trust them. You can always trust them. No, I'm kidding. But I love, I lean on friends, I lean on the program, I lean on most anything really on this couch. I don't know. What about you?
I have to say that I truly do lean on my sponsee family. I lean on my sponsee family because, they're the ones who will tell me the truth, whether I want to hear it or not. They're the ones who will say, girl, that was a mess. That was a hot mess. Or they be like, I never heard that song that way before. So I really lean on my sponsorship family and I lean on the community as a whole. We have an opportunity here in Chicago. We have a phenomenal individual who writes the best drag musicals that we do here. And I tell you, his talents are so amazing, but he takes our community on a journey. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that because when I'm struggling in rehearsals, when I'm struggling in a moment, am I good enough? When those old tapes try to creep back in, I lean on him, and I say, how do I get past this? So I'm grateful that, we have that support system, that support network within recovery to help take us to that next part and that next level as well. What about you, Sue?
Well, I lean on the wall because I'm a little challenged sometimes in heels. But no, I also I lean into what we say is step 3 in the 12-step programs, which is really the concept of sort of let go and let God, and just when you're going to an event and you're about to perform, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and all you can do is really try your best. And I think that's such a good concept that you can apply to the rest of your life too. When something's not working out your way, you just got to let it go, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You can only do so much. And once you've done your part, then you got to let go of the results. So I think it's such a good lesson that you can really apply anywhere. But I think about that a lot in drag, because it's, I'm running late to the show, and like Linda mentioned, I forgot my eyelashes, or I forgot a prop. I've done that many, many times. So it's not going to be exactly what I was envisioning on stage, but I just let it go and try to have fun. Usually by the end of the night, I still think it's a success, even if it didn't go exactly like I planned.
So what's your message as Linda, as Sue? And I'll answer the question too. What's your message in drag as you perform in recovery? What's your message?
What's your message?
I have to say that my message is God is real. That's what I have to say my message is. And I know that, and I say that because I know that when people come into recovery, the thing that people struggle with the most is having a connection to a higher power, because we are taught that that higher power has to be something specific. And if it's not that, then it won't work. And so my thing is, I don't tell people they have to believe what I believe, but I want to show them how easy life can be when you find that connection. You make that connection and you stick to that connection, or whatever that higher power is for you, because it's in many forms. For me, when I came into recovery, people said to me, if you don't have a God, make that chair your God. And for me, I had to think about that, because again, I grew up in the Pentecostal church. And I kept looking at that chair one day in a meeting. I was like, eventually that chair will break. So I need something that's unbreakable. I need something that's going to hold me when I can't hold myself. And so that's the reason why it was so important for me to maintain and hold on to that connection to God. And I'm very grateful for that. So my message is, find that connection and let that connection, whatever it is, let it carry you. Sue, what about you?
Mine would be have fun and build community. I think the fun part is, for me, selfishly, and just to remember to go out there and if you're not having fun, the audience can totally tell. And then building community, even if I'm at a normal gig where I'm there maybe with people who aren't sober, I still apply the same things that I would apply at a sobriety show, in terms of just trying to make friends with people. Don't show up to the gig and not talk to anybody because, I think I'm better than anybody else. I don't like to give off those vibes. And I try to help people, even, if I notice somebody's struggling to get their costume on, another performer, or, they need somebody to hand them something on stage. It's not below me to be able to help somebody else when I'm ready to perform. So I try to, apply those same sort of ideas, even if it's a non-sobriety show.
I would say, thank you both so much for sharing that. I can relate, and I feel like that's kind of the same ideas that I try to give off as well. But I also would like to add that for me, it's always been about being free, right? Just sort of letting showing others that you too can find that key that will set you free. Because I think this is just my assumption, but I feel like we all sort of grow up in like in bubbles, or like in like with limits of what we can or what we can do, right, in our lives. And at some point, we all have we eventually find that key that does set us free. But how do you get there? Like, how do you find that key? And for me, it was through drag. So for me, that is just what drag. That's what my message is. Is that you too can find a key that will set you free from whatever it is. And because I feel like I'm living proof of that. I mean, at least Linda Summers is,
Oh, sure. Let's take some questions. We love that.
Hello. Thank you all so much for being here and, speaking. I did have a question. I heard a lot of spirituality, and I heard a lot of recovery and how it kind of impacts your drag. I'm curious, what has drag done for your spirituality, your connection with God, or whatever it is that you believe, or your recovery? What would you say drag has brought to you?
For me, drag has brought me even closer to God and to that, remembering that calling on my life as a young boy. Because, I never heard the words that were positive around being gay. It was always sissy, faggot, those types of words. So drag has allowed me to tap into that feminine side of me and have fun with that and be okay with that. Because I was told as a young kid, stop walking like that, stop sitting like that. Now today, as you can see, I cannot sit in heels without my legs crossed, because that's how the Pentecostal women did it in church. But I think that's what drag has done for my spirituality. It has made me that much closer to God, because now I am fully embracing all of who I am.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say drag has helped me feel comfortable in my own skin, and it's helped me really build confidence, because I feel like you kind of learn things when you dress up that, that outer shell that you're always, at least I was always building for myself. When you're doing drag, it sort of forces you to get outside of that. And I find that even when I don't have makeup on, I tend to be now a lot more sort of outgoing. I used to be really shy. People always used to say that I was really reserved. After I started doing drag, people don't stop saying that to me, even when I'm not in drag. So I think it's just really helped me feel more confident and just sort of be a better person. What do you think, Linda?
Practice some of the old things that was taught to me at a young age, to be a mentor, right? To uplift others, to be forgiving. And I thought that I couldn't practice that anymore just because I was a drag queen or because I was queer or gay. I thought I had to be this like evil catty queen, I don't know where I got that idea, but I thought I needed to be that. But no, drag has taught me, well, no, like in order for you to succeed, you have to be kind to others, right? You have to be respectful. You have to be on time. At least try to be. But I think for me, drag, has given me an opportunity to still practice my spirituality, and I think that's all I really can say about that. It's just about that, really.
Any other questions?
Okay. Party, first-time listener, long-time caller, or something along those lines. Thank you so much for being so brave to talk about not only sobriety but your drag stories, and specifically, like, is there anything that I'll say it like this. I was able to reclaim a lot of the things that I lost in addiction, right? Is there anything that drag and sober has allowed you to reclaim that you haven't already touched on?
I think for me, I was able to reclaim the fun in life. Like, it's so fun going shopping and being in the department store and trying on women's shoes and watching people's looks. I get such, if I can say this, a high from that. Because they don't know what to think and what to say and what to do. There would be a few people who would be like, oh, those shoes look really good on you. And then there's some people, they just look and they just walk by, So I would like to say the fun. I really reclaimed the fun because it stopped being fun for me in addiction when my world was as big as from the dresser to the dirty clothes hamper. That's how small my world had gotten. So now that my world is so much bigger, I get to claim so much more fun. So I'm going to say that I reclaim the fun in life.
I would say my role as a member of this community, I felt like that was sort of taken from me. I was like stuck in hotel rooms. And at some point, I was finally out and I was finally doing things for the community through drag and service. And I found that it is super fun. It is super fun to go out there and twirl around for dollar bills that go to charities, right, at bars. Like, who knew? But I really have to emphasize how important it is to have your posse. I can't go to any bar sometimes without knowing that there's someone from my community in those spaces, because it can get triggering, and people are kind and all, but it can be triggering. But yeah, being able to ask for help, I guess, and being able to ask for support, that's really what I have been able to reclaim. Sue?
It's a great question. I would say, so there's, I don't know if in the 12-step program, there's this concept of, well, I guess it's a general concept of the inner child. And for me, I feel like drag has really done that for me. That's sort of reclaimed my inner child. And I think, when I was a really young kid growing up, I also put on my mom's, stepped into my mom's heels, put on some of her dresses. My sister used to dress me and my brother up in makeup. And it was just fun. And it wasn't until I got a little older where I got messages from my father or people like that kind of saying that it wasn't okay that I was doing those things. And so when I started doing drag, there's definitely this element of like, oh yeah, I can go back to like how it was when I was like, 5 years old and nobody really cared what I was doing. And sort of, it's very freeing.
All right, any final questions? Okay, so let's close out because this has been so much fun and I really hope we get an opportunity to do something like this again. So thank you so much to Drag Spirituality Summit for giving us a platform of your weekend to be able to talk about drag and our sobriety and how the two actually go together. So there's a person that's sitting out there, may it be a young person or a person who's coming out for the first time, in our LGBTQIA community. What's the word or the message that you want to leave them with today? You want to start us off, Sue?
Sure. I would say take risks and explore yourself because it's worth it. Because if I hadn't done that when I was new in sobriety, like I don't know if I would be doing drag because I would have sort of been closed off to the idea. And like I said before, it was very freeing. So I would highly encourage you to, be a little brave and step outside the box, see how it feels, step into some heels.
Great question. I would say ask those questions that are coming to mind. I think as a kid myself, like I was so curious about so many things, but I didn't have those spaces and I didn't think that I could ask those questions, right? But I have learned that those questions are not going to be asked if you don't ask them, or people are not going to feel like those questions are even something that people are even wondering about. And I feel like to the kid who's sitting over here, perhaps I would say ask those questions. You know, just love yourself, I suppose. I know that's hard as a kid to even like comprehend, you know, like love yourself, what? But I feel like if you ask, how do you love yourself, right? How do you start to, you know, I don't know. I just feel like asking questions is like the advice that I will give to any kid, especially for those who are coming out. Like, where do I find community, right? How do you respond to this? To what should I even react to this? I don't know. Like, you know, ask questions.
And you know what I would say to whoever this is for, enjoy life. You know, drugs, alcohol, whatever our addiction is, took so much from us. So we can reclaim that back and enjoy life. So find your fun. It may not be drag for you. That's okay. Find your fun and enjoy it to the fullest, because we only have this life to live. And it's important that we answer our call, whatever that call is, and do what we have been put on this planet to do. So this has been so much wonderful. This has been so wonderful. So thank you again, Drag Spirituality Summit, and we're really grateful.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi there, this is Bonnie Violet again. Thanks so much. We really hope you enjoyed our panel discussion or the plenary or whatever part of the Dragon Spirituality Summit you just listened to. We wanted to give a big shout out to a queer chaplain for hosting this event along with the Urban Village Church in Chicago. You can check out the links in the description to connect with each of those orgs and learn more about their work. Also, to continue to support the work of the Dragon Spirituality Podcast, feel free to also check out our Patreon, where you could contribute on a monthly basis to help support the work of this podcast, along with all the productions from a queer chaplain. Thanks so much, and like I said, check out those links and show us some love, and let us know what you think. Like, what did you enjoy? What did you enjoy? Yeah. What would you like to hear more of? Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear from you and work in designing next year's Dragon Spirituality Summit 2023 to take place in San Francisco, California. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.